So, so, good morning, everyone. My name's Kerry Snedden. Thank you for joining our Arcadis presentation today. I'm the Early Years Programme Manager for Arcadis in the UK, and I'm joined today by some of our early careers professionals who I will hand over to shortly. So many of you may be wondering who Arcadis are. Well, we improve everyday quality of life by creating spaces where people want to live, work and play, improving mobility and making best use of our natural resources. And throughout our long history as a leading design and engineering consultancy, we've never stopped innovating. And that's whether looking at how connected and autonomous vehicles will impact our cities or how we can meet the UK's growing data needs. So to depict that a little bit better than I can, I'm just going to play you a video. So if you just bear with me one moment.
From climate change and rising sea levels to rapid urbanization and pressure on natural resources, our world is a more complex place. Arcadis helps you navigate this complexity by understanding the bigger picture. Whether it is maximizing space in cities, making wasteland habitable, or simply taking what you do further, we deliver exceptional and sustainable outcomes safely and consistently. Connecting your vision to our know-how, our people work collaboratively to create value through built and natural assets that work in harmony with their surroundings. From shopping centers in Shanghai or clean water in Sao Paulo to new rail systems in Doha and reducing air pollution in Los Angeles. Our global operations and diverse experience mean we apply collective wisdom to every challenge, big and small. In this way, our experience protecting the Dutch coast for generations is applied to securing New York's flood defenses today. So, whatever your challenge, our teams bring the necessary perspective to provide the right answers, now and in the future. Arcadis, improving quality of life.
Okay, well, hopefully that brought it to life a little bit more. And now I'd like to just share with you some key facts. So we're an organisation who were established in 1888, and today we're a global organisation. We've got 28,000 Arcadians across the globe. We've got offices in the UK, North America, Latin America, Europe, Middle East, Asia and Australia. And by applying our deep market sector insights and collective design consultancy, engineering, project and management services, we work in partnership with our clients to create exceptional and sustainable outcomes throughout the life cycle of their natural and built assets. The services we provide to our clients are design and engineering. So we employ many civil engineers, structural engineers, water engineers. We have lots and lots of different engineer capabilities within Arcadis. We've got business transformation who work across our projects. So we have lots of management consultants within the business. We've also got environment consultants, environmental impact assessment consultants, GIS. We also employ lots of project and program managers, and also cost and commercial. So we are a provider of all the services to our clients in terms of what they may need in relation to their assets. We've got 3 specialist business areas. So we have resilience, which consists of services within environment and water. We have our places business area, creating and managing sustainable places where people live, work and thrive. In this business area, work with clients' assets such as commercial property, residential, affordable housing, government and health, and then mobility, where we develop sustainable solutions to transform the way we move. And within this business area, we work with clients across highways, aviation, and rail. And I'd just like to share our values with you, because obviously our values are at the core of all that we do. And it is how we as Arcadians behave with each other and also work with our clients. We have a people first culture. We generally do care for each other, and we also create an environment where our people can grow, perform and succeed. Integrity, we're open and honest. We act ethically and professionally at all times. Client success, so we are passionate about our clients and develop innovative solutions which will add value for them. And collaboration, we value diversity, and by working together, we work as one Arcadis. And then sustainability, which I will go on to now. So sustainability really is at the heart of everything we do. We own the responsibility to sustain our world and society in a balanced way. So we start every project with this front of mind. It's a philosophy that's not just shaped our approach, but the services we also provide. And each year we work on more than 30,000 projects through which we can contribute to a more sustainable world. We're a digital leader, and in 2018 we set out an ambition to be a digital frontrunner, to lead in rather than be led, by accelerating digital development in our sector. So there's been lots and lots developed, and we've even developed some of our own digital solutions within Arcadis. You know, and that is really, really important for our future. So hopefully the last few slides have given you a little bit more knowledge on who Arcadis are. I'm now going to hand over to some of our graduates and former graduates who are going to give you insights into their careers to date, and also elaborate a little bit further on our culture. So I'll hand over to Rachel.
Thank you, Kerry. So hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I've been at Arcadis for just over 2 years, and I'm an environmental consultant within our sustainability advisory team within our resilience business area. So a bit of my background, I studied environmental science at university, and during this time I completed a work placement at General Electric Renewable Energy as the environmental health and safety intern. So I started on the graduate scheme straight out of Plymouth University. So I started within the environmental health and safety team, as this is what my experience kind of suited at the time. But as I began working on sort of more carbon and sustainability projects, my passion for those type of projects grew, which is why in sort of about 6 months after I joined Arcadis, I moved across to the newly formed carbon and climate advisory team. So I'm now an environmental consultant, no longer in the graduate programme, so I sit within our sustainability advisory team. A really good thing about Arcadis is they do allow you and encourage you to work between various teams and to explore what kinds of projects you're enthusiastic about. So for example, at university, I completed my dissertation on public perceptions of electric vehicles. And as I've always been interested in that area and industry, since coming off the graduate scheme, I now do projects with our transportation team on electric vehicle strategies for local authorities. So outside of sort of day-to-day work, you can get involved with lots of different things, so office-based or team-based. So each of our Arcadis offices has a sports and social team that run a lot of different events, and Arcadis also offer a charity day. So it's technically an extra day off, but you have to do something charitable with it. So the photo in the bottom right, a few of us in the Bristol office completed a litter pick with the Bristol Waste Company. So I thought I'd provide a few project examples so you can get some insight into sort of my day-to-day role. So one of my main projects that I've been working on for about 1.5 years now is a climate adaptation and resilience report for HS2. So we're looking at HS2's assets in terms of their resilience to climate variables, such as peak rainfall, high and low temperatures. The outcome of this report is presented to the design and engineering leads at HS2 to sort of aid in embedding mitigation into the design. Another example of a project is a solar feasibility study. So we use an online software similar to GIS. So we analyse areas of a client's land to see if they're suitable for solar panels. And we take into account things like site constraints, planning risks, availability on the grid, and complete a sort of a cost-benefit analysis and present that to the client. So that's it from me, I think. So I'll pass over to our next one, which is Henry.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rachel, for that. So I'm Henry Locke. I'm a graduate project manager at Arcadis. So I initially started my studies doing A-levels, doing geography, economics and maths. Following that, I went to the University of Nottingham and I did BA Honours in geography. So it was largely human geography. However, I tailored it to also involve a variety of physical modules with a large emphasis on GIS, which Rachel just mentioned now. And then I started in January 2021, so about 9 months ago, in what was known at the time as Wheezy, but is now Resilience, and I'm in the Environment Agency account. So what initially motivated me to become a project manager was sort of 4 core areas. So site visits, I'm not one to sit at a desk 5 days a week. For 9 to 5. I like being out and about, especially in the summer months, slightly less so in the winter months, to see what's going on with the site and to see, to make it more tangible, the work we're doing. Wide scope as well. Often as a project manager, you go across many different projects and also along different parts of their timeline. So from start of the project, middle of the project and end. So it isn't boring what gets offered to you and what things you look at and what things you work on. Project teams as well. So as a project manager, you work often as a liaison between the client. So example, it would be Environment Agency for me, and between the client and the contractor. Within that, you also have a lot of exposure to other parties such as designer, environmental groups within the Environment Agency such as FBG, which is fisheries, biodiversity and geomorphology. And then early responsibility in the bottom right. I know that the box has cut it slightly, but as a project manager, you do get thrown into it. Of course, Arcadis support you in that and whatever you're comfortable with, but you do get the opportunity to have a lot of early responsibility. And then lastly, the Environment Agency account. Arcadis recognised sort of my skills and my knowledge from geography, having worked many sort of academic projects within water and environment. I had an appeal to again go work in this as part of my career and not just in academia. So sort of an example of day to day. So when I first joined Arcadis in this role, I wasn't quite sure how my day-to-day life would look like. And it wasn't until about 6 months into the job I started to fall into a proper rhythm of every day I knew what I was delivering for the project and for my project team. So in the top left of this honeycomb pattern, design review. So a designer will submit a review to the client. And as a project manager, you don't approve a design, but you accept it and you look over it, and you'll normally do a workshop before it is officially released to go over these things. Now, what I really like about that is the fact I've got a non-cog background, so geography isn't specific to the construction industry. I'm now able to be involved in those sides of construction that I never saw at university. And I'm learning and also delivering that side of it as well. So then progress meetings and then program progress and reporting. So you do a lot of that. I mean, a lot of the job is checking in on the project team, making sure everything is being delivered largely on time. If it isn't, informing everyone of the delay and also working through how we're going to bring that delay forward and save a bit of time. So those top two, albeit blurred boxes, show some of the collaborative work environments that I myself present on a weekly basis to the project team. So the top one's more of a Gantt chart type thing, or a board to demonstrate sequencing of events. We go through this every week to make sure everything is being done as per the program. The second picture is very similar and it serves the same purpose. Then the bottom picture ties into contractual communication. So there is quite a lot of admin in the role, which is okay, but you get a lovely colourful dashboard to do the admin in. And it's fundamentally, if a contractor submits some kind of query to, say, a designer, as a project manager, your role is that everyone is talking. If the designer isn't giving this feedback back on any queries, you have to make sure they are. If they're not, why are they under-resourced? How can we help them out? So it is a lot of managing, hence the name. And then, of course, site visits. Normally in a typical 5-day working week, I'll be on site once or twice a week. So an example of a couple of the projects I work on in the Environment HC. So this is the Wayweir's Fish Pass in Woking. So the top left picture is a naturalised fish channel, and the bottom is the outlet structure. So what this project is fundamentally about is reintroducing fish populations into British rivers. So in a navigation, you'll have a top part of the navigation, a bottom part, which will be separated by a weir gate. Fish can't swim through gates, funnily enough. So this project is connecting an upstream and a downstream to really increase that biodiversity in our rivers. And another one is the Leahy's Flood Storage Expansion in Tunbridge, Kent. So it was an initiative whereby if the River Medway within 100 years were to have a flood, we obviously don't want any properties damaged, any lives lost. So this is an embankment work to build up a massive section of embankment, a couple miles long, to make sure we are more resilient to that potential risk. Thank you, and I'll pass you over to Emma.
Thanks for that, Henry. So yeah, my name is Emma, and I joined in January this year as a graduate civil engineer. So I suppose I always knew I wanted to do engineering, didn't really know what kind of engineering. So I did the typical maths and physics at A level, and I also really enjoyed art, so did that as well. Then choosing universities, I wanted to do a general engineering course to get a better idea of what type of engineering was for me. So University of Warwick was able to offer that, and I found out that civil engineering was what I enjoyed doing most. So ended up specialising into that. Did a couple of placements over the summers before joining Arcadis. So yeah, I have joined this January. And I'm based in the Bristol office working in the rail team. So yeah, I suppose this is one of the projects, the main project I've been working on since I joined. I wasn't really sure what to expect in the rail team because you don't do an awful lot in this area at university, but I found it really broad and interesting to get an insight into lots of different areas of a fairly large project. So this is part of a series of upgrades that Transport for Wales are doing on the Core Valley Lines development programme. So we're doing some upgrading to the existing structures and also building some new ones. And there's obviously every other discipline that comes into that. So when you're dealing with rail, you've got all the overhead lines and all the hard standing electrical. You've got to deal with the water management from the facilities involved, as well as the logistics of keeping the site open. It's a functioning depot, and they don't want their activities to be halted while you carry out work. So that's been really interesting for me to get involved with. So I'm predominantly in the structures team, but have also been given partial responsibility within the design management. So that's kind of a bit project managey, but from a design point of view. So managing the disciplines, how they work around each other, making sure things don't clash. The architects are talking with the structural engineers and making sure it all works. So that's been really interesting. But on the more technical side of things, I've been able to get involved in the structural design, using new software, the calculations, producing technical drawings, as well as communicating these through presentations and conversations with clients and suppliers. So the top right, that's not me, but it's a colleague who we went over and tried out some new scanning equipment, because this was a building that they wanted to change the purpose of and put a lot more load onto the foundations, but we weren't sure what the foundations were, and there weren't any suitable drawings. So we were trying to find out what kind of foundations were and whether they would be able to support the new loading. So yeah, that's kind of my day-to-day job for the last few months. But what I really enjoy about Arcadis is that's not all you get to do. So I think Rachel touched upon it. But there's lots of other opportunities for personal development and just to work on what you find interesting. So Arcadis supports you as a person, they're people first. That is genuinely reflected in how they run as a business. So they offer opportunities for social. So down the bottom right, that's our team on a pizza making afternoon. And then top left was a rail away day, which was with loads of other different companies working in the rail sector. And also you got to meet different people from other offices within Arcadis. So there are also sustainability is a big part, as I think we've already touched on. And recently we've formed a sustainability working group within the Western and Wales Rail team, which I've been part of, and we've worked on kind of communicating the best practice and resources to the wider team on how to make projects more sustainable. And the bottom left, I've been able to help develop some code and scripts to make processes more efficient when calculating carbon from our designs. So I think overall, I've been given a lot more responsibility than expected, but I've really enjoyed that, and I think I've learned more because of it. So I think what I enjoy most about being part of Arcadis is this opportunity for flexibility. You can kind of tailor your experience and your skills are appreciated depending on what you're interested in. Particularly on the grad scheme, it's a rotational one, and certainly Kerry and her colleagues are very good at listening to you and helping you make the most of your experience. And yeah, I guess this kind of leads into, it's just a really supportive environment, and the people first culture is genuinely reflected. So I'll now hand on to Michaela.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla and I'm an assistant engineer in the water team. I joined Arcadis in 2019, so I've just finished the grad program as well, like Rachel. So yeah, I've summarized my journey to here on the screen. So I did A-levels back in 2014 and 2015. Did a variety of subjects because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. Then I went to university. I went to the University of Cambridge and did a general engineering degree, mainly because I also wasn't sure about the kinds of engineering and what they were and what they involved and whether I would enjoy them. So I ended up specializing in civil, structural, and environmental in my third and fourth year, after having done a few summer placements at Arcadis and with a contractor, and just realized that the construction industry and this side of things was what I wanted to work in. I also had the opportunity to run a student-run NGO working in Tanzania, so I gained a bit more experience through that, and also had great support from the water team in Arcadis that I'd worked with on my placements throughout that experience. So in October 2019, after I graduated, I joined Arcadis in the water team in London, and yeah, it's been a really great experience so far, and I'll tell you more about my projects on the next slide. I just wanted to bring in some things that I've managed to do outside of work with Arcadis's support. So the first thing with the logo in the middle is Shelter. So Shelter is Arcadis's pro bono initiative with UN Habitat, and I worked on this last year. At the start of the COVID pandemic, we were running a rapid response help desk to support UN field offices in responding to queries related to how to manage COVID cases, given that it was such an international emergency and there was a lot of urgency around the responses. So that was a really good opportunity for me to work with and virtually meet colleagues from Arcadis all around the world. And I definitely learned a lot and got some good exposure within the company as a result of that. I've also been lucky to engage more with the ICE, so the Institution of Civil Engineers, with the support of my team at Arcadis. So this year I've been one of the ICE President's Future Leaders, which has given me a lot of opportunities to meet people within the ICE at all levels and to attend a lot of regional visits with the ICE President and just kind of get that networking and personal development in. And yeah, I think definitely Arcadis is really supportive with engaging with your institutions and with preparing for chartership as well. So just a quick slide about my projects to date. So as you can see from the slide, I've worked on quite a range of projects since joining. So from working with Gatwick Airport to a local council to local utilities. And it's all been really interesting. So I've done a number of things, including like working on diversions of water mains, new sewers, protecting sewers in London, and working directly with developers and the clients. So that involves a lot of site visits. I did some inspections of the canals for the Canal and River Trust, which is quite exciting last year, just before COVID. So I was out on the canals just inspecting the locks and making sure that we were producing reports for like the condition of the assets so that the Canal and River Trust would know where to prioritize their funding and their repairs. And then I also got the opportunity to look into flooding in Croydon. So this was a lot of like homes and like third-party land which was flooding and had been complained about to the council. And I undertook some flood modelling just to check like why the flooding was happening and what we could do about it. And I think, yeah, it was a really good experience for me to kind of see a different side of workings. And that was just because I expressed an interest in wanting to look more at that side of things. So I think there's definitely flexibility in what you work on depending on what team you're in as well. So I think that's it for me, and I'll hand over to Jagoda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. Hi, everyone. My name is Jagoda, and I will tell you a bit of my graduate journey as a project manager with Arcadis, but also what like other opportunities are out there after you complete your graduate program. I'm currently assistant project manager, sitting in enabling functions. So first, a bit of the journey. So I studied at the University of Plymouth, and after my 2 years at uni, I did a placement year with Arcadis as a project manager, sitting in buildings and working on buildings projects with public clients. So very much kind of government projects. Probably one thing to highlight here is the fact that as how Arcadis is supporting your personal interests and kind of trying to support you on this journey. So as a part of the once I was on a year out program, I wanted to explore if maybe quantity surveying is something that maybe I would like to pursue more rather than project management. So I was put on a project where I could learn a bit more about this, but yeah, decided I want to stay with project management. However, they do support you if you have any interest in things you would like to try. So then after the graduation, I continued to work with Arcadis and started my graduate program. So as you can see, I've been working on a variety of type of projects. So from healthcare to housing projects to also a office refurbishment. So I think there was one question from you, kind of how much responsibility a graduate have. So because I've been working with Arcadis before, my team knew me already. So one of my first projects as a graduate was managing a £2 million building office retrofit at a hospital site in Exeter. So that was for me personally, was like a very big step up. And I think it was challenging, but also this was the kind of the biggest learning curve, really. Like this allowed me to learn a lot and and just having a feeling of having such a big responsibility. So you get to work on really variety of very interesting projects, and there's lots of things to do. In the meantime as well, while you're a graduate, you get a chance to get some training as well. So I did a Hike DNA, which is Arcadis internal training program around future technologies and kind of digital world and sustainability as well. Then as soon as pandemic started, I signed up for APM PMQ certification. So it's a part of Association of Project Management. So yeah, we could also get these, and Arcadis really supports you on your journey to chartership, and depending on which institution you want to get chartered. In my case, that was APC. So yeah, but then my promotion to being assistant project manager. So I decided that after having a few years of experience in building sector, I wanted to really try to do something completely else, just to kind of check myself in different environment and learn new things, more focused around business, operations, and because Arcadis being such a wide organization, you can have many options and many paths there, which is, I think this is one of the things I like the most in this business. So I've moved to an internal role and been working with a UK operations team, and basically making sure that all the key work streams that are enabling the business to run correctly are working well. So this has been like a great experience, something completely new, coming from buildings background. And then as a part of this gave me a bigger exposure to Arcadis network, and because of this I met some new people, and now I am working with a global team within places. So something what used to be buildings, because we went through the reorganization recently, and now I'm supporting them and working with them on creating new digital solutions for places. So basically our new digital propositions for the future, which is something I never thought I'll do, but again, I think Arcadis really supports you on where you want to go personally. So yeah, that's my journey so far, and just what I'll highlight to you kind of my key thoughts on what Arcadis can give you when you decide to join at the start of your professional career. So I think one of key things for me was that it has a perfect opportunity to work globally. There is a Quest program that allows you to work for, I think, up to a month in any other global Arcadis office, but also you can transfer to work on a specific project, or is it because you want to move somewhere else? But also you get to work in multinational project teams, which is also very interesting and just broadens your horizons. I think, one of the other key things is that Arcadis really supports you in your professional career choices. So if you want to explore other roles, other sectors or projects, they really support you in this. There is a great working environment. I generally think that there are great people at Arcadis, and you can learn a lot from them, but also have a good time and make friends, and you'll get to spend some great time here. I think there is a lot of training opportunities and support to get to the place where you want to, but also to inspire you. We have a really good mentoring program, and also you can be a reverse mentor to someone more senior, which is a really also good experience. And there is a very wide range of projects types, which again, each project gives you a different experience, and you can learn other things. So that's probably summary from me. And thank you very much. And I will now hand over to Tracy, I think.
Thanks, Goda. It's Kerry here
Kerry,
again. Yeah, it's all right. You were right, actually. It was meant to be Tracy, but because we can only have so many presenters, I'm still here. So thanks for that, guys. That was really, really great insight into your careers and also, you know, what you do as a role within Arcadis. So I just wanted to share with everyone. I know there's been lots of questions coming in on the chat. I have been responding where possible, but I know some of the questions are for our graduates, etc. as well. So I'll probably read those out, guys, in a short while, and obviously you can answer them better than I can. So I just wanted to share with everyone who's joined the call what our range of opportunities are. So we do have opportunities for graduates and undergraduates. On average, we take on in between 120 and 150 graduates per year. We also employ lots of interns into our business, especially engineers, because, you know, it's great if we can recruit engineers when they're in the first or second year at university, and we do offer a bursary for those that join us early and do a really, really good job. And that way we hope that you will then return to us once you've completed university. So on average, we take on in between 60 and 80 interns a year. And we also take on in between 20 and 40 year outs or industrial placements. So those individuals that are doing sandwich year courses. And for our intern and year out positions, we take on engineers. We also take on cost managers, so those doing quantity surveying and commercial management degrees, and also those who are studying built environment courses for our project management and building surveying opportunities. We also employ management consultants as interns and as year outs, and those individuals can come from any degree background. In terms of when we open for applications for our undergraduates, we generally tend to go live second week in October, and we remain open until early January. But as is with all of our vacancies, if we find we're receiving a high volume of applications, we do have the right to close early. You know, so we do always advise candidates, apply as soon as you can, and then you're in with the best chance. Our year out opportunities generally run for 10 to 12 months, and there's many instances where those individuals do stay on 1 or 2 days a week in the final year at university. But, you know, equally, we have many that do return to university. Probably about 98% of our year outs do return to us as graduates, and we've had some really, really good success stories. Like Yagoda has just said, she joined us as a year out student, and it's a great way for you as students to really get an understanding of, you know, the employer and whether that employer is ultimately for you, you know, when you have finished university. In terms of our graduate programs, this year we rolled out a new graduate program, which is a 3-year program. At its core is chartership. A lot of our graduates are technical. They come into engineering roles or project management or cost consulting, environmental. The list is endless, to be honest with you. But we also employ management consultants, you know, who do come from a variation of backgrounds. We have a 3-year program because it's an accelerated learning program, and we ensure that our graduates are receiving the experiences that they need for chartership to enable them to develop quicker than they would have done it in the past. So it is a new program, and like one of the grads did say earlier on, there is the option, it was Emma actually, I haven't forgotten who it is, just in case you are thinking, there is the opportunity to rotate. It isn't mandatory, and obviously there has to be something available for you to rotate into. However, it is within the programme that you have joined, so that could be consulting, project management, engineering, or specialists and scientists. Our specialists and scientists don't rotate out of the role that they're recruited into, because of course they are specialists. So it's important that they do the job that they're employed to do. But what we do with our specialists and scientists is they have 6 rotations during the course of the 3 years within the environmental sector. And they have 45 hours over the 6 months learning about different business propositions, so that they're doing the day role, but they're also learning other things. And it may well be that some of the graduates who did join might go into one of those propositions at a later point in time. We also have lots of people moving across the business. They might change roles, they might change countries, and we say early on, Arcadis is a fantastic organisation if you want to make it your career here. However, we don't do much hand holding. Your career is your own destiny, and this is a vehicle that's provided in order for you to go in the direction that you so desire. So that is more or less it in terms of our opportunities. In terms of what are we looking for from our graduates and our undergraduates, we really need people who are going to help us for the future. So we need people who are resilient. We work in an industry that is very fast paced. Changes happen all the time. So something there may be a process that's around for today. It might change by tomorrow. Things can happen really, really quickly. It's very exciting. Although it sounds very cliche, no 2 days are ever the same, no matter what role you do within Arcadis, to be honest with you. We also need people who are innovative and who have got a growth mindset. So those that are not afraid to learn new things, irrespective of our ages, you learn throughout your career. And just because you might be somebody who's in their 40s, it doesn't mean to say your learning stops. The industry, as I say, changes constantly. And as I mentioned in one of my slides earlier, we are on that digital journey. So we need people to come and challenge what we've done in the past. So these are the kind of behaviours that we need our people to have. And also we need people who share our values. That's really, really important to us. As I mentioned, we are a people first business, and it is, once you actually join Arcadis, you can really, really see that through and through. In terms of what our application process is, so the first stage in the process, you submit your CV. We have a team of recruiters who go through CVs to check you've got the right qualifications for what you've applied for. If you pass that stage in the process, you then get sent through to a behavioural psychometric assessment, which takes about 30-35 minutes. If you do get to that stage, please make sure that you do sit quietly and you don't get any interruptions. If you do, it will affect your results. So it's really, really important. We're also looking for people who've done an internship. That's really important to us, but we also appreciate that we've had a pandemic year where lots of internships were cancelled. So it's all about trying to ensure you do get some work experience, but also put on your CVs any charity work you've done, or any other work experiences. That being able to communicate is really, really important to us. So it's being able to share that with us in a way that you can show that on your CV. if you pass the behavioural assessment, there is a bit of a waiting hold. We get lots of applications, you know, so you could be sat at a certain stage for quite a while. During that stage, we do communicate with you so you know where you're up to. And then our assessment centres start at the end of November and tend to run until the mid of December when we close for Christmas, and then we do the remainder, usually for interns and year outs, in January. You also attend an interview. It's usually done on the assessment day, but this year it's likely to happen probably the day after. Because we're still doing things virtually, but that is our process. You then get to hear within 2 weeks of your assessment centre whether we would like to make you a firm offer for a graduate opportunity with us. So that is all from us today. Thank you so much for joining the call and listening to everybody. I know there's been lots of questions, so I'm now going to go through, we'll put our cameras back on. I'll go through the questions that are in the chat that I wasn't able to answer, that we need our grads or former grads to answer. So I think in relation to your question, our Thomas, in terms of what we look for in CVs, etc. I've just covered that off, so hopefully that answered the question. But if you have got another question, please type it in the chat. I'll just go to some other questions that I've not been able to answer. So this is to any of you guys. What are your daily tasks at work? So I don't know if a PM and an engineer wants to answer.
Go, all right, I'll take the hit there, Kerry.
Yeah.
Daily tasks. I mean, you know, it's quite varied as a project manager, depending on whether you are on site or not on site. So normally I split it those ways. So the more exciting one would be on site. You go to site, you have a walkover with the contractor, often with a program in front of you or drawings, and you just go and look through, is it matching up where we should be on the project? So say they had to, I don't know, strim a bank ahead of work. Have they done that today? Oh, hang on, they haven't done as much as they should. Why? That's fine. And then you often send out an email afterwards to project team on site today. This is what I looked at. We've got some issues here. Can we look at resolving it? So that's the more interesting part of it. And on the days when you're not on site, not to say it's not interesting, but a lot of it is administrative emails. So preparing for the weekly catch-up calls you have with your project. So updating those collaborative boards to make sure everyone's got something they want to talk about. So if an ecologist would like to talk about certain, again, strimming they need to do, what are the dates, any constraints? If the designer wants to submit, say, a revision to a drawing, fine, does everyone know that? And it's a lot of emails, fundamentally making sure communications are going well, etc. I mean, that was very vague, but you know, day to day, admin or on site, fundamentally.
Thanks, Henry. So I've got another good question here. So, or in fact, does an engineer just want to just quickly just run through a couple of things that you might do on a day to day? I don't know, Emma or Kayla.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess my role largely depends on what stage we are in the project. So if we've got a particular deadline, it'll be more about, if we're close to it anyway, more about the report writing and getting the drawings finished. And at other stages, it might be more design development, and there'll generally be at least one coordination meeting with other disciplines, discussing any client needs and how we can incorporate them within our design, and any new information that we might have received as a result of surveys, and I guess, yeah, calculations to make sure it's all going to work.
There's another question here, actually, but I'll this is for an engineer as well. Is previous work experience for engineering beneficial, I would have said?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go on.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were going to answer it. So yeah, I think it was helpful to have a bit of previous experience, just because I feel like university degrees, at least mine, was quite theoretical and didn't really overlap with the real world of work. Just so you get a bit of an idea of like what the industry is like and if the industry is for you. But in terms of like actually knowing what to do when you get here, I think, as Kerry said earlier, you're always learning. So even if you have done a placement, you're probably not going to know exactly what you're doing when you join anyways. It's an adventure either way.
Thank you. There's another question here, and I'm not actually sure if it's for me or our graduates, but it's what difficulties did you face in your career journey? Obviously, we've got Yagoda who and Michaela who have been here, and Rachel, sorry, for a number of years. Obviously, I'm not actually sure, Nick, who that's for. If you want to type it in the chat, one of us will answer. Otherwise, we could all answer and not get to the right conclusion for you. Zach, I've put an answer in the question for yourself in terms of working globally. Do you travel much? I mean, guys, have any of you done any traveling since you have joined? I know Henry and Emma, obviously, haven't you joined during the pandemic when we were all locked up? But what about Rachel, Gigoda, and Michaela? Have you what's your traveling like?
Yeah, none globally, but in my last team, sort of did a lot of site visits around the UK. So I'm based in Bristol. I've done one sort of near Glastonbury. I went up to Preston for 3 days as well to do a site visit at a nuclear power plant. That was quite cool. I've helped out with the ecology team sort of in Wales. Yeah, so just depends where your project's based and you get to see some really cool places.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, I've put some tips, etc., in the chat. But if obviously, if there's anything else we can help with there, please let us know. And then we've got a really interesting question here, and I know how I'd answer this. How do you deal with adversity at Arcadis? So I mean, I'm going to answer this from my point of view, but guys, if you've ever had to deal with a difficult situation, it'd be great to know how you did handle it. But just to answer that from my perspective, Nick, we do have a very open culture for feedback. So I would like to think that if somebody had obviously, if there was a difficult situation, that you could be really open and honest about it without getting too much of a consequence for that. But I don't know if any of our presenters today have had to deal with any adversity whilst you've been here, whether from a client front or anybody. Well, it's good if
so thankfully not within Arcadis. I haven't had any adversity within our own colleagues yet. I'm sure there won't be, but of course got to be objective with it. In terms of a client front, still as a graduate, as a project manager, as I said, a lot of it is managing communications between different parties, and often there are miscommunications between parties, which then can come out in emotional encounters, if I put it that way. So being in meetings whereby a client is dissatisfied with some work, and it can be a non-constructive conversation set of words. So as such, you have to manage that normally on a whim. But I've always found afterwards, after the meeting, I've been able to go to my colleagues, sense check whether the approach of mitigation was fine, as in, please, can you have this conversation offline, move on. And then before a meeting, if we were to have, two dueling parties again in that meeting, I've been able to go to sort of my senior project managers or QSs and ask them, right, if this arises again, would you be able to support and mitigate and steer this away? So fundamentally, how I've dealt with adversity is just keeping my colleagues in the loop and being very open with them, saying that was actually quite uncomfortable. I didn't like it at all. what do you think we should be doing moving forward? And it's never been met with any negativity. It's always been very open and, okay, right, that wasn't comfortable, we'll address it next time. So Carrie, that's how I've dealt with adversity in projects thus far.
Good. Thanks, Henry. And Nick, you've asked a question there about, what type of courses and experience and promotions, leadership does Arcadis offer for BAME people? We are an equal employer and everybody is treated respectfully. And we've got lots of different people in our leadership. We are a global business, so to be honest with you, that is whatever we offer for everybody, we offer for all of our employees, as well as leadership. There's courses, there's future leaders courses, and there's a real mixed bag of individuals that are on that. And as I say, as we are transitioning to a more global P&L, I would imagine that we'll see lots more of that. Our leadership model is changing slightly at the moment. So I hope that answers your question. And then there's another question here for yourselves. What kind of tips would you say to people with lack of work experience in engineering? Any tips from our engineers if you've not had much work experience?
I suppose showing interest, taking note of projects going on and trying to understand a bit more about how they've developed, or maybe some constraints, and just developing your own interest in the area that you could talk about in an interview, say. And also it's just good general background knowledge for working in the industry, is to kind of, just be aware of what's going on. That would be my tip anyway.
Thank you. And then, there was a question before that I wasn't sure who it was for, but it was, just bear with me. What difficulties did you face in your career journey? And that's probably for Emma and Kayla, because it was for engineers. So have you experienced any difficulties or to date?
I suppose not a difficulty as such, but more just working out what I wanted to do within engineering, because it's such a broad area, and it's not something that is that clear, certainly from school or A levels, and even at university. Learning in lectures is quite different to in the real world. So kind of working out what it was that I wanted to do with my career, or certainly early career, what I guess was one of my challenges. I don't know about you, Michaela.
I'm not sure on challenges.
That's good.
Maybe, I mean, there's probably been some, but I think they've all sorted themselves out, and I think if you take a bit of a longer term view of challenges, most of them will sort themselves out, and there'll be something that you'll probably learn from and take forwards in your career anyway.
Great, thank you. So I've got one last question, because this goes off air in the next couple of minutes. What new technologies have you yourselves been working on, whilst you've been graduates within Arcadis? And that's to any of you.
So I guess I can help with this one. Is that something that another graduate in my team who joined at a similar time has been helping us with, kind of creating, is using a gaming engine to create first-person models, I suppose. So you create your 3D model of what you're trying to build, and you can kind of walk around it and spot hazards and assess whether there's enough room here to clean this train here with this bit of equipment here, and he's kind of developing that into something a bit wider for the business area, but that's also come out of his own area of interest. So he enjoys that side of technology, and has come up with this idea and worked out how to do it, and it's getting support from the wider business area as a really interesting area, and the clients have responded really well to it actually as well.
Great, thank you. And then there is one more that I'm going to ask, and it's really, really important, which is why I feel that I should ask it. So this is to all of you females. Sorry, Henry. How supported have you felt as a female grad in a male-dominated industry?
I'm happy to start with this one. So yeah, my line manager's female. Sort of her manager's female. I kind of worried a bit, which every female does going into sort of an engineering industry, that would be like a male club. But in my department, sort of the sustainability advisory team, there's a lot of female leadership, and I also see that across the business as well. And I've noticed like on a lot of site visits, there's a lot of females there. Obviously, I can't speak for sort of every team within Arcadis, but yeah, no, I've never felt out of place. I've always felt sort of on equal footing, which is good.
Yeah, I think I can literally say the same, because my line manager is a female as well, and I think there is a strong support and just like general culture around like Arcadians that we like. There's definitely support, and when you, even if you have like some maybe difficult situations on site with the contractor, there is always a response back from someone senior in our business back to the contractor or to client to make sure that the situation isn't going to be repeated anymore. And yeah, there's also something that I wanted to sign up actually for Arcadis in a Woman in Arcadis Empowering program as well. So I know there is like some specific support for women to grow in the construction industry as well. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks once again, everybody, for taking the time out to join our presentation today. We hope you've enjoyed listening, learning more about our industry and Arcadis, as well as from grads and former grads in relation to their career insights, and also a bit about our culture. We are live with our vacancies at the moment. Our ATS system is currently offline until Monday because we're just in the process of transferring. But you can generally find all of our careers on www.arcadiscareers.com, or just do a search in Google for Arcadis Careers. And from NetSuite, there will be direct links there. But if you've got any questions, etc., please field them through to Career Map. And thanks again. Have a great weekend. And thanks to all you guys.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.